a man from Dewhirst.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to start off with a poem about the place I was born, which is Birmingham in England, and it's a place where I spent 20 years of my life, but I don't have any affinity to that place. I don't feel I belong there, and I don't think I ever felt I belonged there. So this is my take on Birmingham. Flakes spread on beds and chairs, on walls and ceilings, in carpets, under rugs, left on desks and in filing cabinets. A presence once that I once saw, I felt, I cried over. Some buildings reek of my journey. Dawdled, doodled, grafted, wasted hours, strolled, hibernated, studied, observed, daydreamed, stargazed, smoked, drank, wrote things down. A half-life, lived, felt, wondered over. This city was my classroom, playground, apprenticeship, my failed ambition. It gave me nothing but a feeling of not belonging. About 10 years ago I started to do my family history and try and find out a bit about my ancestors, who in the main were Yorkshire cotton mill workers, and my grandfather was a Yorkshire cotton weaver, and he died in the First World War, and so I never knew him. And I was going round a working museum, a cotton museum, and looking at machines that he would have worked at, and he would have tended 10 or 12 looms, and I wondered what he would make of me as a poet, and as him as the hard-working cotton weaver. So I put this together. It's called On the Spindle. Threads wrap their bodies, lithe and thin, green and red, into whipped pleasures, top to bottom, spun to the bobbin like fishing line, to be cast out into a shuttled kiss. Cotton cloth cut to clothe, made to mend, to hold a button, settle a zip. Once breath of exotic air, gathered sun, but that was a mere childhood. Now is a working life, a uniform, a sense purposed, hanging on racks, in wardrobes, then lying on bodies, in machines and on rocks, and here on paper. One of the things I love to do is walk long distance paths with my wife, and last year we walked the Lady Anne Clifford Way in the Yorkshire Dales up into the Lake District, and it's 100 miles, and part of the way along you go through a valley called Malastang, and I just love the name of that, Malastang. And the part of Malastang, you don't walk down the bottom of the valley and you don't walk along the top, you follow a path that runs halfway up the hill, and they've put a sculpture which is supposed to represent the river, and it's basically an arch with a river cut in the middle, and the river's actually a gap. And it's caused a lot of comment from people. A lot of people think it's a waste of public money to do these things. So I wrote this poem called Malastang, The View from Watercut, that's what the piece is called. It's called Watercut. And this piece is written from the perspective of the sculpture itself. Human moods bemuse me, like the words that settle into books. Rivers should never be cast in stone. This is not a film dressing. Snapshots don't take the moment, casting it like a bronze sculpture to forever remain a torsoed sun. I shift through light and through opinion, sleepless, no eyebrow raised to the past or the thought of future plans. Standing here is living through the day, not whittling pencils into words or sketches that can be erased, faint images that blur to live as mist on mountain tops. The hills talk of a new sound now. They won't react as I bend the breeze. The helm wind resonates a chord through boots and bones into hearts and heads, then sees and hears and knows that nights are parts of days. On the way up to Limerick today from Cork, Paul and I stopped off at the largest stone circle, I can't remember what it's called, but Grange Stone Circle, and one of the stones has been totally smothered by an ash tree. It's grown up around the stone, and it's totally smothered it. And it reminded me of a trip I made to Malham Cove up in the Yorkshire Dales, which is it's a massive limestone cliff face that was once a waterfall, and now the water seeps underneath and comes out from underneath the rock, and it does come over the top. But if you climb to the top, there's a massive limestone pavements, and in between these limestone pavements there are trees growing, and they've actually, as they've grown, they've split the rock, and the tree, this ash tree smothering the rock at the stone circle today, kind of reminded me of the power of that. So this is what I wrote about in Malham Cove. Water, wind-washed, Water, wind-washed, hides under rock, weathers the wanderer's wayside to waste into drip pools of echoed breath. The crowman once walked these craven hills, tripping limestone pavements, granite scars and climbing crags, dropping seedlings into cracks. Hawthorn cleaves there now. Brigantia, goddess of these Pennine Alps, play fluted nocturnes, renditions in lost notes, semi-breathes in half-breaths through earth-class pipes. Erking, stargaze, frosted land, hill forts and barren tracks to the sea. Bothered least by lasting loneliness. There is no silence here, as stone resonates water tripping limestone pavements, granite scars and climbing crags. In the haze of hidden daylight, chill pushes the vista ramblers down to the bunk barns, leaving the wind and water to sail and trickle and waltz. Okay, this next one is about a place off the coast of Kent called Dungeness, which 200 or 300 years ago didn't exist as a piece of land. As the east coast of England erodes, the sea carries the rubble down the coast, and it turns the corner into Kent, and then just all gathers into this place called Dungeness. And it's a barren place, a moonscape of rock, and it has been inhabited by the weirdest of things. At the very end of it, there is a nuclear power station. Why you would want to put a nuclear power station on something that seems a little bit unstable to me, because it's not been there for millions of years, I don't know, but they have. They put a nuclear power station. And Londoners have these shanty shacks that they use as holiday homes. And they tried to sell one of them a few years ago, and they took the view of this nice looking shack on the beach, and it was pointed out in the press that if you took the other angle, you've got the nuclear power station right behind it, and estate agents for you. And also there's a steam railway that is it's a full working railway, but it's only a small, almost childlike toy railway, and it was built as a communication railway, a proper railway, but it was not full size, and it still runs today. There's an old lighthouse there, and there's a new one that looks like a space rocket, and all these things I picked up. But it's a really wonderful place, it really grabs you. This is called Dungeness. The road stretches out onto the Tuma until the lines of habitants is left behind, leaving the lifeboat station to mark the boundary between the wanted and the unknown. I reach the village. Shanty shacks sit in skewed unmarked stone gardens where the salt grey sleeper trees grow, wind-hollowed, trickling leaf shavings into scattered mausoleums. Sea cabbage sprouts amongst the pig bones of trawler wrecks. A sculpted horse of human presence drips flip-flops and sunglasses down to the shingle path. At dusk it wanders the foreshore. One-armed pylons take the fizz juice to civilization along tinsel cables that hum in the rain, away from the arresting charcoal grey concrete Lego block edifice. The Romney Marsh train set finishes here, bringing visitors to sit in the cafe watching the drivel, shivering in their thoughts, keen for a view of the surface moon from the old lighthouse, whilst the new second rocket light sits alone on its launch pad, sky watching as if it believes it should rest on another sea of tranquility. Transient land where the air sings of creation and my foot sinks into the shingle that grips my ankle should I want to leave. I turn to the sea. Waves spill their hand-written words onto blank pages. Shingle grinds bladder-rack ink into blotched doodles. Wind plucks out the grass like feathers from a goose. All is written here. But this is heaven after hell has burned. Again, I write a lot about places, and the other thing I write about is music, and I kind of mix music with places. So I'm going to finish with 3 poems that are about places, but have got the musical influence. And the first one goes back to Birmingham in 1977. It was the height of punk rock, and Birmingham had a nightclub called Barbarella's, which is where all the punk bands performed. Now I was a long-haired rocker into the blues and Deep Purple and Pink Floyd, so I wasn't a punk, but we did go along to see what it was all about, and that was the night that I saw the Sex Pistols. And Ian Dury and the Blockheads and 1 or 2 other bands. But this is something that I witnessed standing outside. It's called Outside Barbarella's, Birmingham, 1977. A grey Coma van pulls up at the stage door. The dead trees on tour is splashed down the side with all the finesse of vomit on a pavement. The door slides open. Out steps a tattoo in torn denim, hair the model of the Alps, dark roots with peroxide snow tops. His look vacant and not pretty, but never mind. He pulls up his belts, checks his flies and adjusts his bollocks, before crawling back to the back of his throat to pull out a spit of green phlegm out onto the tarmac, into which he stubs out a cigarette. He kicks at the breeze, swears to anyone listening, takes a run and then stops at a passing transit van. His mind changed or never engaged. He takes a beer bottle, brown glass, red label, ripping the crown top off on the edge of the door, catching the foam with his pierced tongue. He empties it into his gullet like a flash storm into a drain. He throws the empty at the neon sign that flashes Rellas, something lost in meaning without the light of Barber. Once more he kicks the head and chest of the breeze to ensure it won't get up. He grunts. Then he walks to the back of the van and carefully, lovingly removes his electric blue guitar.